so we'll go ahead and give people a chance to join in, but making sure that we record for those who are not able to join us today. Welcome from all over the world, I'm sure, because this is what we do at the Global Health Catalyst. Try to provide that platform for everyone to come together in our joint efforts to just increase access to various aspects of global health care, research, education. We always strive to extend our networks and to provide resources and share those as they become available to us. And of course, to build our skills. So I am Lydia Asana. I am part of the Global Health Catalyst team. And I must say, I've missed many of you at our Global Health Catalyst Summit every year. So looking forward at the end of this meeting to share some updates about our upcoming summit at the end of this year. We will try to keep everyone muted to make sure that we can all hear, get the information that we're here for today, which is mainly focused on grant opportunities. We all have great ideas, want to do great things, but the truth is we do need that money to make it happen, in addition to our great network. So we're really thrilled to have Dr. Claire Thibodeau here from Cures Within Reach. I would encourage everyone to make use of the chat feature as part of our taking this opportunity to build our networks. So do feel free to put in there just who you are and where you're joining us from and your affiliation, organization, institution, and so forth, so that everyone on the call can take advantage of that and make or build new connections. I think that is it on my end, but I would like to introduce Dr. Professor Ahmed El-Zawawi, who's joining us from Egypt. He is the fuel that keeps us going in our win-win initiative. I just always love the passion with which he encourages us, that it's not really about us. It's about the bigger goal of extending opportunities and access, not just for any care, but for quality care to all populations. So Professor Ahmed, would you please take over and remind us of why we're here, and then also introduce our main speaker for today.
Do you hear me well now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, because the screen is become black, I don't know why.
Well, we can hear you, and I don't know if on your end, we see your profile picture. I don't see you live anymore, but I see your profile picture.
Yes. Anyway, what's more important is that you hear me. Okay. I'll go in 5 minutes to first, hello all. I'm very pleased today to be among you. I represent today the Global Health Catalyst Win-Win Movement. I'm also saying to you hello from Port Said, Egypt. On brief, as all of you know that there is a big shortage of cancer care in the world and other medical care too. The Win-Win initiative aims at the increase of affordability of better value cancer care for the underserved people, that is to say the majority of people in the world, via scientific approaches and with consideration of win-win scenarios. Why we say win-win? Because we are our objective is to realize it in the real world. The first wing of the win-win initiative, which is the notion and adopted completely by the Global Health Catalyst. Director is Professor Wilfred Negwa, and we have many distinguished colleagues everywhere in the world. Coordinating is my colleague, Dr. Lydia Asana. The first wing is to a scientific exploration for avenues to increase affordability of better value cancer care. one of these approaches, we have more than 20 scientific approaches. One of these approaches is repurposed drugs. Why repurposing drugs? Repurposing first is the new finding or searching for newer indications for older drugs or devices, or in the same, and also exploration of newer combination of older drugs. Why repurposing drugs? Because whatever we do with the newer drugs, the innovation, and all what is going, and all what will happen in the next years is never enough, is not enough. Second thing, for the skyrocketing increase of costs of care, as you know, not for cancer only, but for everything, and this crisis, increasing crisis order. So repurposing drugs, if taken more widely, that's why we advocate for repurposing drugs with love, really, will serve both things, newer indications and lowering the cost. To do this without having bodies like cure within reach, then will be some just wishes or we will our hopes. So it needs bodies, need researcher, need all of you to contribute, need researcher from everywhere, needs, as we say always in the win-win, in the global health catalyst, win-win movement, we need always 3 C's and 1 P. It is collaboration, coordination, cooperation, coordination, cooperation, collaboration, and coordination and partnerships. And it's open for all. We are not challenging anybody. We're not challenging any organization, any society, but we are open for all, and we belongs to all. Welcome all. Today, I ask you all, please spread the message. Please contribute as most as you can. Millions of patients in the world are in need. Millions of patients in the world are waiting you. It is a pleasure and an honor, really. I have a real honor to present to you today Dr. Claire Sibido, Director of Scientific Affairs of Cure Within Reach, who will be so glad to answer all your questions, inquiries, suggestions, ideas, or to send to her, and you have her contact. Please, Dr. Claire.
Thank you very much, Ahmed and Lydia, and to the whole Global Health Catalyst group for inviting me here today and allowing me to talk to you a little bit about some funding opportunities in repurposing research. So I'm going to start sharing my screen now and give you a little bit of a presentation. So again, my name is Claire Thibodeau. I'm the Director of Scientific Affairs with Cures Within Reach, and I'm happy to talk about funding opportunities for clinical repurposing research. So as Ahmed kind of talked about, I think one of the first things that's important in doing a presentation like this is making sure we're all on the same page with definitions. So when Cures Within Reach talks about repurposing, what we mean is a drug, a device, nutraceutical, diagnostic that's already been approved for human use in one disease, which is now being tested in a different disease. And when I say approved, it could be FDA approval, it could be EMA approval, it could be approval in Japan, what have you. But some regulatory body has determined it safe for human use. So this is different from what other people call repositioning, which is outside of our mission, but that's a case where maybe a therapy has made it partially down the regulatory pathway. Maybe it's been shown to be safe in humans, but has not made it as an approved drug. Those types of therapies are typically outside of our mission. So Cures Within Reach is a nonprofit. We're based in Chicago in the United States, and we've been around since 2005. But over the past dozen plus years, we have focused specifically on repurposing research. We believe that this is the best way to get treatments to patients as quickly as possible. We are a disease agnostic organization. We are geography agnostic. We are institution agnostic, and we're patient population agnostic. So to us, what really matters is the repurposing opportunity. Then what we do is we work with our funders and our supporters and our donors, and we work to focus on supporting research, repurposing research in areas that are of interest and are important to them. This is what we call our donor-directed impact philanthropy model. And again, we've sort of touched on this a little bit already with Ahmed's introduction. We know that there are over 7,000 unsolved diseases out there. At the same time, there's thousands of approved drugs and devices. So to us, repurposing really is that fastest path to patient. And at Cures Within Reach, patient impact is the top priority in everything that we do. And, repurposing may be common and thought of oftenly by doctors and researchers and patients, but it's not always thought of in the general population. And unfortunately, it's now in everybody's mind in terms of COVID-19. COVID-19 has really shined a light on our mission and has really acquainted the public with the power of repurposing in a very new and powerful way, whether it's using dexamethasone or baricitinib in combination with remdesivir. But there have been thousands of clinical trials focused specifically on repurposing in COVID-19, and we're not there yet, but they're making an impact. So as I mentioned, we are a disease agnostic organization. Right now, we have 33 projects ongoing in 21 diseases, although this is going to be changing soon because we just had a project that closed. So if you go to our website and the numbers are off a little bit, that's why. We have funding in a number of areas, including rare diseases, oncology, neurology, inner ear. But one I do want to point out is infectious diseases. We have been seeing an increase in the number of projects that come our way in infectious diseases. And right now we have a handful that we're funding in dengue, tuberculosis, and COVID-19. In addition, we do not fund exclusively in the United States. Although most of our funding is located at institutions in the United States, we are funding projects in Canada, in Europe, in Asia, Africa, and in Australia. And we'll come back to this, this component as well and talk a little bit more about our work outside of the United States. So the type of project that Cures Within Reach really loves to fund is that proof of concept phase 1 clinical trial. We like to call this the comeback when money. So imagine a PI, maybe you don't have to imagine, maybe you've been in this place before, but a researcher has a really interesting repurposing research idea. Perhaps there's compelling preclinical evidence, and now they want to move it into humans. They may take this idea to a larger funding organization and they'll say, that sounds like a really great idea. Come back when you have some proof of concept data. Come back when you know the dosing. Come back when you have an idea of safety. And that's where Cures Within Reach really likes to come in. We find that our grants can be very catalytic in this way. Over the years, we funded over $7 million in repurposing research. And our funded PIs have gone on to use that data and leverage it into $67 million in follow-on funding. So this really is an important role that Cures Within Reach plays in the ecosystem. Sometimes we will fund larger phase 2 projects when our funding can be complementary to existing funding and can help speed patient impact. Sometimes we'll consider late preclinical work, again, when that's of interest to our donors and funding partners, but generally it's that proof of concept stage. And we are indifferent to commercial value, and this is a very important point to make. Again, we are focused on patient impact, whether that patient impact comes from a generic drug where there may be little or no commercial value, but clinicians may be interested in using it off-label for their patients, or if it's a therapy that might have commercial value and can be carried forward by industry. Again, bottom line to us is what's going to create a pipeline of treatments for patients. So before we get into any details about funding opportunities, I want to just talk a little bit about our timeline and our process. This is a very busy slide, but I think for the purposes of this call, we want to focus on this section because this is the section that's usually of most interest to applicants and researchers. Cures Within Reach has a 2-step submission process. The first step is an initial proposal, which is meant to be more about the repurposing opportunity and about the patient impact of the project rather than having heavy scientific details. At this stage, we do want to know generally the research plan, the number of patients and the therapy and the dosing and that sort of thing, but not a lot of details in that area. Once we get all of our proposals in, we then send them out to our external review committee, which we'll talk about a little bit later as well. The external reviewers in Cures Within Reach, we review the proposals, we score them, we rank them, and then we invite the top submissions to submit a full grant. Now, the second phase, full grant, is where we then ask for the more detailed scientific information, all of the letters of support, a more detailed budget, that sort of thing. We go through the same review process again, excuse me, and then once we have the scores and the ranks of the full grants, then we'll make our funding decision. So as we go forward and we talk about deadlines and everything, please do keep in mind that what I'm talking about right now is going to be that proposal submission phase, the brief proposal submission. So with that, let's talk about the funding opportunities that Cures Within Reach currently has. So far in 2021, we've released 7 requests for proposal funding opportunities, 3 of which are still currently open. And these 3 are all part of our diversity, equity, and inclusion community. All 3 have a geographic component. All 3 are as I said, currently open and accepting proposals. The first is focusing for any investigator based in the Chicago area who's doing repurposing clinical trials to address health disparities, racial and ethnic health disparities. The second is for any PI based in the US who is an underrepresented racial or ethnic minority. And this is for any disease that PI is interested in. And the third, which is probably of most interest to this group, is for underserved PIs based in low and lower middle income countries. Again, any disease. And this we call our regrow program. So I'll be focusing on regrow as I move forward. But if there's anybody on the call today that's interested in the health disparities or the US minority PIs applications, please keep in mind the process is going to be exactly the same. And we would absolutely love to hear from you with your ideas and submissions on those as well. So for regrow, regrow stands for Repurposing Grants for the Rest of the World. And this was an idea that was kind of brought to us by one of our pharma partners. And they said, you know, Cures Within Reach has such a good model of finding and funding repurposing opportunities for patients in North America and Europe. Wouldn't it be great if we could expand this to low and lower middle income countries to build capacity for research and to find treatments for patients based in these countries? And thus Regrow was born. We launched our first pilot Regrow request for proposal late 2019 and collected submissions into 2020. We were new to LMICs, and thanks to partnerships with Global Health Catalyst and Ahmed and others, we were able to really get the word out about this opportunity. We didn't know what to expect, and we were so thrilled to see such a strong response. We had submissions from, I think it was 12 different LMICs across 4 continents, with over 30 projects in a range of diseases, including infectious disease, oncology, vascular, immunology, and others. So we put these projects through our submission review, where we again had the proposal submission, reviewed those, invited the full grants, reviewed those. And I'm very pleased to say that as of today, so far, Cures Within Reach has funded 3 Regrow projects. Each of these are $50,000 US each. And they have, again, a range of diseases, from tuberculosis in Nigeria, snake bite, which I think is a fascinating project, in Kenya, and a rare pediatric liver disease in Vietnam. And now we are thrilled that we have been able to start year 2 of Regrow, which is currently accepting proposal submissions up through August 6th. So if you are interested and want to learn more about Regrow, you are in luck, because that is exactly my next slide. Regrow projects, like last year, can be in any disease area. We are disease agnostic. What we want to do is hear from the researchers in these countries, in these communities. Where's their greatest need? What do their patients need? Regrow therapies must be off-patent drugs, nutraceuticals, or indigenous medicines. And the idea is that these therapies should be available in the country of interest. You know, what we're hoping is that if this research moves forward and if it's successful, then patients in these countries should be able to take advantage of these therapies as soon as possible. Again, we are looking strictly for clinical trial projects only this time around. And like last year, the maximum budget will be $50,000 US. Again, this funding can either cover an entire project, or it can be supplemental to existing funds that can help speed patient impact and get a trial off the ground. We are requiring that proposal submissions are in English. We do have an optional video submission, but I can tell you last year, nobody took advantage of it. Maybe one day we'll get a video, but we haven't so far. PIs at any career stage are eligible to apply. If a junior PI is interested, we do suggest including a letter of support from a mentor or a more senior PI who will be able to oversee and provide guidance on the project. And also, the research institutions need to be what we're calling research ready. And what this means is that the institution is set up and ready to start clinical trials once the funding is awarded. So they've been vetted by other funding organizations and have received funding. They have all the guidelines and requirements and regulations in place, and they have previous experience with clinical trial research. All proposals come on our Cure Accelerator platform. This is an online platform that Cures Within Reach created in order to aggregate and centralize repurposing research ideas. We use this as our pipeline and our database, and also for our request for proposals. It's very easy to sign up on Cure Accelerator. If you are interested in submitting a proposal, you need to sign up as either a researcher or a clinician. And once you're verified, then you just log into the platform. There'll be a big button on your home screen that says Start a New Project. Click on that, and you'll be guided through our form. Yeah, I'll tell you, the form looks very long, and there are a number of questions that are either yes, no, checkbox, or optional questions. There are, however, a handful of key proposal fields that we really look at the hardest when it comes to evaluating these submissions. The public abstract, research description, expected health impact on patients, again, very important. Any known safety concerns of the repurposed therapy, and again, a rough project budget. We do provide additional guidance on what should be included in these fields. All of that, plus the full request for proposals with all the details, can be found on our website. And you see the address right here. And as I said, the review process is very important. Our external experts cover a range of backgrounds: academia, industry, nonprofit, patient philanthropy. And there are 6 criteria on which all the proposals are reviewed: innovation in the repurposing arena, the feasibility of the plan, relevance to the patients, again, very important, investigator and environment, how fast and what kind of impact this could make in the clinic. And then finally, the value of the research. And now we're not talking about, will this go on to create a blockbuster treatment that industry can make money from? But what we're talking about is how much value will Cures Within Reach get from our funding? How valuable is this to science, to patients overall? And one thing I really like about our process is that all PIs, whether they move forward to the next phase or not, get feedback from the reviewers so that they can then improve their submissions in the future. So if you've listened to this presentation and you're thinking, you know, this sounds really exciting, I really like this idea, I don't have a project to submit, how can I participate? Great news. We are always looking for volunteers for our grant review committee. As a disease agnostic organization, we just can't know everything about every disease. So we rely on experts. This is a volunteer position. It is a completely opt-in or opt-out. We have a pool of reviewers. If we have a review opportunity that matches their background, we'll reach out and say, hey, can you help us with these reviews? If we were to do that and you said, you know what, I'm very swamped right now, I can't do it this time, check in with me another time, that is perfectly fine. And reviewers can participate either in the proposal reviews or the full grants, or both. We do prefer both participation for continuing keeping the reviewers as consistent or as possible, but we are flexible on that as well. So we are looking for review support, not just for our regrow opportunity, but for our health disparities and minority PI opportunities coming up. That review process will start in August, and then with the full grants and everything will go until late fall. So please, if you're interested, I encourage you to sign up for our panel, and I'd be happy to talk to you more about that. And I'm happy to take any other questions as we go forward with the presentation here today. However, if you find that there's a question that we don't get to or is maybe not appropriate for this session, please do reach out to me. We love to hear from PIs and hear about their ideas, and we try and be as helpful as possible through the application process so that we are able to find the best repurposing ideas out there. So with that, I know it's a very quick overview, but I am happy to take questions and discuss more.
Thank you so much, Claire. You know, one of the things that excites me about working with Cures Within Reach is that we don't always think of being involved in global health we think of the traditional, I'm going to work with an organization somewhere else, or I'm going to publish research on something that affects populations around the world. But bringing this opportunity for clinical researchers to get support to do something that will benefit low and middle income populations, or giving PIs that sometimes are not on an even playing field in applying for grants, giving a grant opportunity, particularly for PIs in low and middle income countries or minority PIs. It's really a great opportunity for all of us on this call. And so I'll start with a question. If someone's on the call who is not a clinical researcher like me, how can I benefit from this information? What would you recommend I do? I am interested in certain diseases or certain populations. How can I make use of this information?
Well, I think the first thing, thank you for that question. It's really an important question. I think the very first thing you can do is talk to others in your network who are clinical researchers who may be interested in knowing about this opportunity, because while we had experience with researchers in LMICs last year, we certainly can use all the help we can in making those connections and building our network. Lydia, as you said earlier today, it's about building that network. So any connections, any suggestions, forward the information. That's a really important way that you can help us. I think secondly, if somebody is still in research, but maybe not in clinical research, we know that the preclinical projects of today become the clinical projects of tomorrow. So I would encourage somebody who maybe is working in a lab or with animals to look for those clinical collaborators to move the research forward, knowing that there are funding sources out there. And then thirdly, the other thing I would say is consider the grant review committee. As I mentioned, we have people from all different backgrounds. It's not just strictly people from academia, because we want to make sure all perspectives are incorporated. So if there's somebody that is, has an interest in a disease from a patient standpoint, we still want to know that too. So think about, is the grant opportunity, the grant review opportunity, one that you'd be interested in?
Super, great. I'm always one, and I think Professor Ahmed has trained us well to always look for the win-win. And so one thing that I would encourage about even serving on one of these grant review committees is, we're doing a great service in providing opportunities for these grants by being of service to Cures Within Reach. But to remember that that service is not to an organization, but to the populations that will benefit from this research, and to the researchers who will get the funding to move their careers forward and reach these populations around the world. But also, I would consider being a grant reviewer because it's going to increase my skills. So don't always think of it as, what am I going to give and I'm serving. That's a wonderful reason to be involved, but it's great to also see what you benefit from it. And so being on a grant review committee is a great opportunity to gain knowledge about different kinds of research that are out there, because you get to read about them. And that could, get your wheels turning about different areas of work. That could open your eyes to new opportunities for collaborations. So I'd really encourage everyone on the call, if you're not yet ready to submit a grant, you just may be ready to serve on a review committee. And I think that there are great benefits to that. So Dr. Tiberi has a question about who is eligible to submit a grant. Do you have to partner with a US-based PI organization member on your team in order to submit a grant?
Can I add something?
Yes, Professor Ahmed.
Yes, there is a very big role, not only more important even than reviewer, and more important in the time being than even a clinical. It is to be advocate for the cause. Mm-hmm. Repurposing drugs could be something very beneficial to millions in our world, but still there is no enough awareness. There is no enough people who are interested in. maybe because people do not understand its value and its importance. So be an advocate and be in contact with Global Health Catalyst, be in contact directly with Dr. Clark Sibidou, is doing this is a very needed and very big role. Spread the message, be an advocate, be in contact always, all the time with Dr. Clark Sibidou and with us in Global Health Catalyst. There is a very big role, needed role. We need this very important endeavor to serve millions. So spread the message, please.
Absolutely. You know, just from this group, if we each told 5 people, imagine how far the information would go. And then you multiply that by thousands to think about those that would benefit. So yes, please do share the information and visit both sites. We'll put that in the chat. So Dr. Tiberi is asking about eligibility to submit an application and whether you need a U.S. partner.
Yep. So it's a very important question. You do not need a U.S. partner. We have a preference for projects that do partner with U.S., Europe, or some other group. You know, we do like to see collaborations. However, it is not a requirement. So if you, I mean, your collaboration might be with another researcher in a different country than a different LMIC. Again, you know, we like to see the collaborative projects, but it is not at all a requirement.
Great. So that should get us all even more excited. Thank you for that. So a question from Nuella: how can young people contribute? Are they allowed to be on a grant review team, or what are ways that you would suggest young catalysts, as we call them, become part of efforts at Cures Within Reach?
Yeah, so it's another really great question. I think that a young catalyst could be very helpful as a grant review committee member. It's always good to have fresh perspective, new perspective. But I think too that you know, we are open to PIs at different career stages. So if a student were interested in applying, again, in partnership with a mentor and a senior PI, you know, part of the idea of these types of funding opportunities is not only to get the research itself off the ground, but to get the researchers off the ground as well, to build that capacity for repurposing research, to give the experience and to give that that opportunity. So you know, it's also an opportunity to build a career. So I would keep that in mind as well.
Great, thank you. And I think, Andreas, this answer pertains to your question about medical students as well. So there is opportunity, and it's a great way to get you thinking about who are experienced researchers in my field of work, or in my sphere of influence, or within the Global Health Catalyst network that I could connect with an idea who could support me in submitting a proposal. Great. Any other questions? Please let us know. A question, Claire: do you ever have events where people could participate and get an idea of just the diversity of topics and research areas that Cures Within Reach works with?
We do actually have events. We had one just last month, actually. And what these are, we call them Cure Accelerator Live. And the idea is that these are live pitch events where PIs come and they talk about their repurposing research idea in a very short period of time. They have about 8 minutes, and we work with them. And then people who attend the events, we have expert panelists who ask questions. People who attend the event then get to vote on which projects receive a $50,000 grant. We had one of these a couple of years ago, 2019, and you know, Global Health Catalyst Summit was such a great partner with us in that one, that focused specifically on the developing world. That was sort of our prelude to regrow. We just had one last month that focused on pediatric rare disease. So again, it all depends on our funders' interests. But if anybody who's listening is interested, you can go to our website. Under events, you'll see Cure Accelerator Live, and you can watch videos from these the presenters and highlights videos to get a sense of the types of projects we like to fund, and learn a little bit more about the research and see what other people are doing as well, and expand your knowledge area.
Yeah, thank you, Claire. I have participated. You were with us at the Global Health Catalyst, as you mentioned, but even in the virtual event that I participated in, and just getting excited at what people are doing and the different things they're thinking about. To think of something that's already approved and saying, hey, if this can do this and we're already cleared to this point, let's take it a step further to serve populations that are in dire need of new therapies. So I was really inspired by the pitches that I heard. And it was exciting to get to vote as well. Like, you really get to have your voice, have your say in who gets funding. And it's something that, you can do in a relatively short amount of time. So I would encourage you all to look out for those Cure Accelerator Live events as well. We will continue to take questions as they come in. Please put them in the chat. But we also wanted to have an opportunity to have you hear from one of our team members, Dr. Ngwa. Many of you are familiar with him, but he has had quite a bit of experience with getting grants that have gotten us and our collaborators far along the way in global health work. And I'm sure he'll be the first to tell you that it's not about what he has done, but what he's been able to do in collaboration with others. So Dr. Ngwa, could you give us some tips and insights from your experiences, just things to keep in mind as some of us start exploring projects and perhaps thinking about submitting proposals for grants?
Oh, thank you, Lydia. And thank you, Claire, very much for partnering with us to make this share this opportunity. It's really just to echo what Brother Ahmed mentioned earlier on. I mean, it's a really great opportunity where you can have an impact. And I just, listening to the questions, I think one of the big areas, like he said, is really thinking about how you can let more people know about these kind of opportunities. Because there are lots of people who can actually take advantage of these opportunities and can develop something that can benefit a lot of people. So thank you, Claire, for that. Yeah, I mean, in terms of funding, one of the key drivers, I was give a talk this morning talking about there's a lot of money available, growing increasingly amount of money available for global health work. I mean, some 10 years ago, the only funding that was actually available was mostly for infectious diseases, where you have, things where people see their, the disease can spread to the United States or to Europe, those areas. So it's more like a security issue. But nowadays you have these opportunities like Cures Within Reach, where they're agnostic. They don't even care about what disease you're looking at. And from my own experience, a couple of tips that I would say, I've served as one of the reviewers of Cures Within Reach. So, definitely I get to score some of these grants, and I know the kind of things that reviewers are looking for. Number one is just really just a perception. Reviewers are very busy people. So the first paragraph is going to decide whether they're going to fund your project or not, score it up or down. That already gives you the first impression. So I actually spend like a day just crafting the first page that people are going to read, because that's really important in conveying the impression. And then the reviewer usually then, whatever thing they're looking forward afterwards, just added to reinforce that idea, the perception they already have. That's all that they're doing. Once they've said in their mind, I don't want this project, they're going to find negative things to come up. They're going to come up with negative things. So really do spend time on the first page, the first paragraph, make it compelling. And then second thing is usually give yourself a lot of time. I know that this is due July 30th, and I think Cures Within Reach has actually extended some of these deadlines, which is really good. I mean, when you want, this is one opportunity, but there are other opportunities that I think usually give yourself time, start early. It's just a grantsmanship approach, which means that if you hurry, the reviewer is going to know. If you're hurrying, they're going to know. You're going to make tiny typos. There's in the United States, the NIH grant specific aims page. If you make an error, a typo, the reviewer can, excuse that. If you make a second typo, they are not going to fund. They're going to just, that's an impression, like they are going to score your proposal down. That's just it. But when you're hurrying, when you give yourself, you quick turnaround, where you don't give yourself enough time, what's going to happen is that those errors are going to happen. So give yourself time, especially, work with your institution to get the administrative documents if that's necessary, like the budgets, developing your biosketch, all of those things. Give yourself time to do that. The science part, you can probably get up in the night at 2 a.m. and you can write it yourself. But the things that involve other people, you really want to start early with those ones. And so that's really important. Obviously for clinical trials, you're going to need IRB approval. So that's also something that you have to think about to start early. Think about what your patient populations, go through the IRB, the ethics. That's really important to do. And I think that, this is one opportunity. I think, Claire, you have opportunities also for, minorities in the United States and in the Chicago area, which I think is a really wonderful direction, for Cures Within Reach to be investing in this direction. So really appreciate that as somebody based in the United States, but also coming from a lower middle income country, I know the value of these things. The Global Health Catalyst has kind of grown. I mean, we were in Harvard. I mean, that was in Boston the last time. We've had a lot of, interest. So we're actually getting NIH funding now to really grow the initiatives to involve other institutions. And so Dr. Asana is going to talk about some of the upcoming summits, that's conference that's going to be towards the end of this year. But really excited because there's also going to be opportunities. We actually have industry partners who decided that they can provide seed grants like $5,000. We're not talking about $50,000 like Claire's funding, but thinking about $5,000 to $10,000 grants, where you can have a mentor from the United States, collaborate with a mentor from a lower middle income country, and they can start collect preliminary data for a project, win-win, in a way that they can publish together. So the low and middle income country person can, actually helps their career development, but also it can really help advance global health. And also for the principal investigator, the collaborator from the United States, or in this case, we're going to focus on the United States, and we're going to have faculty from Harvard, from Johns Hopkins, from UPenn, and also from Howard University, because the funding that we're getting is directed to those institutions. So that's something definitely to watch out for. As we announce, we're going to announce the summit, but that's going to be an opportunity where people can take advantage. It's not a lot of money, but actually the second summit we did in 2017 or 16 in Boston, we had the kind of pitch sessions that Claire talked about, where we actually sponsored some of the, investigators from low and middle income countries who came with their projects, and it was like a Shark Tank essentially. So they present, their projects, and then they were scored, so people voted, and then, they won, they funded, like they selected the top 2 projects. And so, that's going to be a very similar opportunity. So definitely watch out for the announcement on that, and if you have a project. This year, because of COVID, the summit, I'm already going to that, it's going to be hybrid. So some people may not be able to come to the United States, but, we'll actually have a virtual component, so you can still make a pitch virtually. And so maybe we'll get some success with video, Claire. So definitely, we really look forward to working with the people. If you have people who want to share that opportunity, also send that out to other people who may be interested. All right.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Ngwa. So to summarize, I think I heard you say some tips for success. You need to plan ahead. Beware of the grants that are out there and the deadlines. And then you need to start gathering your information, notifying your potential partners and collaborators. Just keeping in mind that these collaborators and the various offices and institutions need time and have their own timelines. You know, some people may need 2 weeks notice, some may need a week, but you need to be aware of all of that as you're putting together ideas for your grants. And really important, pay attention to the details. You know, you can be passionate about your research and experienced in your field, but those little typos or not following instructions can really get your proposal marked down. So I always say, you know, give someone else a chance to look it over.
Yeah.
And when you think you're done, sleep on it and get up and look at it again in the morning. That's why you don't want to do it the day of, because, you know, it could really make or break your scoring early on. Before people get a chance to really dig in. So very quickly,
so, Lydia,
yes.
can I just add something really quickly?
Sure.
And you know, I want to make sure this is clear for everybody who's thinking about submitting a proposal. One of the reasons why we have a two-step phase is because we know it takes time and we know it takes effort. So in the proposal stage, Cures Within Reach is not looking for, and you have to have all the requirements filled out at that point, all the collaborations, all the institutional documents. I just, because I know there's 3 weeks till the deadline, so I don't want people to be afraid. That's what the full grant stage is for, because we also want to limit the amount of effort a PI puts in until we know, okay, this is a great idea, we want to learn more. Mm-hmm. So just for anybody who's thinking about applying, please keep that in mind, that those are pieces that come later in our process.
Great thing to keep in mind.
May I add something too? I know Mona has a.
I was going to say, yeah, go ahead. And then
I wanted to mention one thing that I forgot to mention was the collaboration piece. And I think that was a common question, like, okay, for younger people who want to participate. Some of the things is really, for me, one of my things that really helped me was, you know, finding people that you can collaborate with, or even senior people who are more experienced. I never got a situation where, you know, you emailed somebody and said, okay, you know, I want to collaborate with you on a grant proposal because because of your expertise, you can help me on this. And the person said no. You know, I don't remember having that situation. So the win-win collaboration approach really works, where, you know, if you can articulate the person and say, okay, hey, if we do this, people see the win in it. They're going to co-publish with you. They may even get additional funding and stuff like that. So, you know, I really just want to encourage people to try to collaborate. The team that's going to be part of the grant proposal is really important. So anyway, I just wanted to enforce that.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you, Mona, for your patience. We did see your hand up.
Thank you for this session, and thank you for this meeting. And I hope these types of collaboration could be helpful in improving the health for the all of the world. My question is about the which kind of clinical trials could be eligible for this grant. Just phase 3 clinical trial are eligible?
So any phase of clinical trial would be eligible. It's more about the funding. So for Cures Within Reach funding, it needs to either cover an entire project or be supplemental for funding that can then allow a project to start. So if you had a phase 3 project and this was the first $50,000 you had to raise and you still had to raise additional funding, that falls outside of the eligibility. But if you have a phase 3 that needs a little extra funding to get started or to speed patient impact, that would be eligible.
Another question is about the alternative medicine. That I want let me know that which kind of studies should be done previously when we want to try an alternative medicine, for example, that's something that is using in one country, but not as a drug in a tradition?
So yeah, I think that's a really great question. Maybe we can trade some emails and we can talk about that a little bit more, because I think that might be a question that is a little too difficult to answer in this time. But I will say that if this indigenous medicine has been used in other conditions and there's either scientific data that's been published or you know, a group of clinicians that use it clinically and it's been used a number of years, that would be some helpful data to start with.
Thank you. And the last point is about the training, and I think it's a good idea, and it's necessary, especially in some countries like Iran. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mona, and thank you. The questions, you can keep them coming, and we will share Claire's email in the chat, so you can, I know anyone on here, I know she's quite responsive with emails, so she'd be happy to get those or anything related to global health and partnerships. We'll share those emails at the end as well. In our last few minutes, I know some people are taking their lunch break or it's the end of the day. We just wanted to give a few updates about the Global Health Catalyst. We all know we've had semi-forced seasons of sabbatical and rest with COVID, but we've all been very active as of you all. So we all always look forward to hearing what our collaborators in the field are doing in order to be aware of your efforts and to be able to suggest partnerships and network opportunities as well. On the part of the Global Health Catalyst, over the pandemic, we had several webinars in partnership with the Africa CDC, for example, and other organizations, just talking about COVID, being able to understand it better. We had a webinar with local health authorities and church leaders as well. So those recordings are available on our YouTube page, and we will be sharing that as well. In addition, there are publications that have come up related to global health, and we're really excited that there's a new one coming from Professor Ahmed El-Zawawi and Dr. Ngwa. It's called Approaching Global Oncology, the Win-Win Model. So that'll be coming out soon from IOP Publishers. And last but not least, for those of you who come to the summits, you know it's like a family reunion, and I miss you all. And for those who haven't come yet, we look forward to having you participate. We have decided, it's been approved, that we will have a summit this year. So November 11th to 13th, we are hosting a hybrid summit. So we'll be updating our summit web page, but the preliminary information is on there. So November 1st will be completely virtual. So everyone here is able to join. It will be hosted by our partner, University of Pennsylvania. And then on the 12th and the 13th, that will be hybrid. So we will have on-site as well as virtual. We hope that many of those who can make it will join us at Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore, Maryland. That is where we will have the physical meetings, and everyone hopefully is able to fit in their schedule to join us virtually if you're not able to be with us in person. So November 11th to 13th, day 1 completely virtual, hosted by UPenn, and days 2 and 3 will be hybrid, and the physical location will be at Johns Hopkins University. So we are excited by the commitment of our collaborators, our partners. We're excited to start visiting different campuses with this great event, and looking forward to having some in different countries as well coming up. That was one of the things that we requested and was very welcomed in seeking funding for these events. So we'll be posting information about sessions and submitting applications to present and so forth in the coming days and weeks. But we hope that you will put these dates on your calendar, because for those who've been there, there's no way to describe Global Health Catalyst Summit.
It's 1 o'clock.
But we look forward to your participation. And so it is 1 o'clock. I really want to thank Professor Ahmed for joining us from Egypt and reminding us ultimately the goal is win-win. We do want to
Thank
serve
you.
the populations that we have. We want to promote and grow in our careers and our efforts. We want to move research forward, get publications out, mentor the younger ones coming up. I see several of our young catalysts on the call, so I'm glad you made the time. But thank you, Professor Ahmed. Thank you, Dr. Ngwa, always ready to share. Thank you so much, Claire. Dr. Thibodeau from Cures Within Reach. We really value our partnership with you, and we'll continue to share information about upcoming grants. And for all who participated, thank you for taking the time to be with us today. I hope that you found it helpful. We will have the recording available. And again, we will share those email addresses as well. I think I put Claire's up already. Did that go up? But yes, join us again. We look forward to having more of these Global Health Catalyst Connect, just these short 1 hour sessions with great information for all to share. Any last words from Dr. Thibodeau, Dr. El-Zawawi, or Dr. Ngwa?
Just thank you for having me, and I look forward to seeing submissions and continuing our partnership.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you everyone for joining. It's wonderful. Thank you, Lydia, for organizing.
Sure thing.
Thank you very much, Lydia, and thank you all. And please all spread the message. Spread the message. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you. As Dr. El-Zawawi always says, hand in hand, we are making progress.
Exactly.
Yes. Well, we wish you all a pleasant late morning, afternoon, evening, night. We look forward to sharing our next event. And if you have ideas of topics that you would like us to cover or guests for these 1 hour Global Health Catalyst Connect mini sessions, please send them my way. My email address will be in the chat as well. But thank you again for joining. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you.